Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Mike Duffy, and alongside me as always, Ben Aiton. Ben,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good, especially after the weekend. Good result in my eyes, which we'll obviously touch upon in this podcast coming up. But yeah, overall good and looking forward to Thursday.
Yeah, no, definitely. Looking forward to having another game to watch.
Yeah, definitely. They're coming thick and fast now. Before we do start talking about the result at the weekend, I just want to start off with a couple of thank yous. So, firstly, and I think most importantly, thank you very much for those who listened first time round. Like, when me and Ben talked about the idea of starting a podcast together, you know, we won't go into the detail of how many have listened, but let's just say we didn't expect the sort of listeners that we've had, the volume of listeners, the interaction we've had. We just didn't expect it, did we, Ben?
Not really. We was just doing it for a bit of a laugh. I think lockdown got to us and we was getting a bit bored and we was like, what can we do? And then we came up with this idea. But yeah, overwhelmed with the amount of people who's got in touch, given us really good feedback as well and things that we can work on. And hopefully we can carry doing this and keep growing.
Yeah, that's the plan. So if you've tuned in for episode 2, thank you very much for listening to episode 1 and continuing your journey with us. Or if this is the first time that you're listening, we really hope you enjoy what's ahead. And maybe if you've got time to kill, maybe perhaps you're not at work, you're furloughed or something, go and give episode 1 a listen to and we'll really appreciate it. And then the second thank you I want to give out is to the guys from the Rookery End podcast. I don't know if many people saw it. I believe that they did because we had such a sort of big wave of listeners after they put the tweet out. But they put a tweet out, including ourselves, and I believe it was 7 other podcasts that Watford do.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, everyone knows from the Rookery End, if memory serves me correctly, they were the first Watford podcast to come around, and they've done superbly well on it. And
over 10 years worth of content they've had now.
Exactly. So, for those guys to give us, not just us, but all the other Watford podcasts a shout out, it really does mean a lot. So if the guys from the Rookery End are listening, we really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And it has certainly helped a lot more than you perhaps think. So yeah, just wanted to start off with those couple of thank yous. And I think now the most appropriate place to start is Saturday lunchtime. I mean, just before we go into what happened, what was you expecting before the game, Ben? Was you positive? Was you worried because it was in front of no fans? And, you know, when the Vic gets rocking, it gets rocking and it can help us. What were your overall thoughts going into the match?
Well, messaging you during the week, you asked me a few times how I was feeling. I think I was all right. I was saying, no, I'm feeling all right. I think it will be all right. And then it got to Saturday morning. You'd normally go get your season ticket, jump in a car, head to Watford. None of that this time. I had to try and do things in the house. I think I went for a 3-mile run as well in the morning to try and keep my mind busy, try and not get as nervous. Then got home, sat down, and oh my God, the nerves got to me, and it was just like being there. It's very strange to be watching it with no fans in the background. But I think we did all right. It was. I've heard very positive things from people who actually attended the game, saying Watford did it superbly with like letting in the journalists and everyone else into the ground, and not heard a negative word said about it. So I think hats off to Watford for the organisation of it all. It all went smoothly. But yeah. I was a nervous wreck. It was weird watching it with no fans. But I must say, the Vicarage Road looked superb. The 1881, the way they decorated that, oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that. You kind of saw other teams beforehand, like the Norwich game, Villa game. You knew that they was going to maybe put some banners out and that. I was not expecting that at all. I think I read something on Twitter saying that there was only 500 seats in the whole of Vicarage Road that wasn't covered by banners. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible. The work they do in the regular season is phenomenal. So, you know, you sort of expect that they're going to put on, like, well, not a show, but it's going to look fabulous, even if there's no fans in there. And I completely echo what you said. You know, before the game, you know, I was all right and whatnot. It wasn't till the day of the actual game. I mean, I'm terrible for getting up early anyway, but I was up early, tried to get back to sleep, and thought, this ain't happening. I think I was up at like 6:30, and I tried to get back to sleep. It wasn't happening. So I got up at 7, like yourself, went for a run, got back, and the nerves started kicking in. I think the worst thing for me as well is you can usually keep yourself occupied, as you say, right up until kick-off to keep your mind off it. I was one of the lucky few to be involved on the fan wall. If you guys haven't seen it already, it's on my Twitter, @MikeDuffy_24. I was one of the few that were lucky to be on that. So I won't call it a downside because it was really, really good experience. But the only problem is if you want to keep your minds preoccupied, you have to be on the actual link an hour before kickoff. And when you're nervous about a game, just sitting there an hour before kickoff waiting for everything to start is really, really, really tests your nerves. So yeah, it was strange going into it, and like even watching the players arrive and watching the teams come out. I mean, I don't know if you spotted it, Ben, but obviously the away teams we know come out first. And I'm not really sure. I was a little bit worried because when we come out, we were sort of coming out in drips and drabs, and like it was like 3 or 4 players at a time.
Yeah, it looked like they forgot that it was actually game time. There was only like 4 or 5 players that came out at the start, and some of the players were looking around to see where the rest of they were. But yeah, I don't know what was going on there. But yeah, that was a bit strange because normally they'd all be lined up in the tunnel and come out together, don't they? I imagine they have a bell that goes off like 2-3 minutes before they should go out.
We know they do, Ben. Do you not remember what was his name? Shorty, the old MC in the 2-minute bell has just gone.
The 2-minute bell has just gone.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if they've still got it, but God, that's going.
I imagine so. Yeah.
But yeah, no, and the other thing I spotted as well, they didn't play Z card. Now I don't know if that's because
I was expecting it as well.
Yeah, whether it's because Leicester come out first, I don't know. But I was a little bit disappointed at that, and obviously seeing 3 or 4 players coming out, and when the other players are coming out, they were sort of just dawdling along, and I was like, I hope this isn't a sign of, you know, things to come in this game.
Yeah, the way they was walking out, it looked like they was walking out for a Sunday league match. That's what I do. And yeah, you come out in drifts and drafts. It didn't look very professional, to be fair.
No, it worried me slightly, and I think that sort of played into how the game started, to be honest. So the game sort of started as we expected, Leicester on top with the possession, and you know, we took a while to get going. I think from memory, the first real chance of the game was, I think, Jamie Vardy, typical. He sort of got in. They played a ball out wide, and then a ball was played in, and Vardy just missed it at the near post. I think Craig Dawson went in.
Yeah, good pressure from Dawson there.
Yeah. Well, I think. Do you know what? I think that sums up his performance for the whole game. But before, we actually continue talking about the actual game itself, I just want to talk about the lineup, because for those that listened in episode 1, we sort of tried to give a predicted lineup ourselves. And yourself, Ben, said that you would have preferred Danny Welbeck starting out on the left.
Yeah, now, firstly, I just want to point out that we had a couple of people message saying that Mike did his predicted 11, and he said he was from the Liverpool game, and he said he was going to make one change, and that was for Chalobah to come in for Decore. So in Mike's head, Gerard Deulofeu was still fit.
No, I wasn't thinking that. I was actually, it was a no-brainer that Deulofeu was out. That's the way I was looking at it.
But he was coming in. Was he playing with 10 men?
Yeah, well, yeah.
But to be fair, I didn't notice you said that. It was Harry Chapman came in and messaged me with that, and I think he enjoyed that one.
Yeah. Thanks for throwing me under the bus early doors, Ben. That's obviously, mind you, it's revenge for last week when you said that your first game was in '95, and I said that was the year I was born. So I think we're 1-1 now. But yeah, no, just going back before we go too off topic. But Welbeck obviously didn't start out on the left. He started on the bench and he played Pereira.
Yes.
Now, there's a couple of things. We'll get onto the news about Pereira in a minute, but what was your thought when that starting lineup come out at 11:30 and you saw that Welbeck was on the bench? What were your thoughts of the whole sort of starting lineup altogether?
I was a bit surprised to see that Welbeck wasn't starting. I was going off the Brentford pre-season friendly where Welbeck did start on the left and he did have an impact as well. He performed quite well in that. So I was surprised that Pereira started. Also, the other one that did a few eyebrows, it was Craig Cathcart wasn't in the starting 11 either. So obviously it worked for Dawson, but I was very surprised to see Cathcart on the bench. But for Pereira as well, I think Nigel Pearson probably likes him. We obviously don't see what goes on in training. Pereira might be absolutely outstanding in training. It's just when it comes to 90 minutes on the Saturday, is very inconsistent.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. And I think just touching on the Cathcart, I think a lot of people were quite surprised because Craig Dawson has come in for a lot of stick this season.
But was Cathcart, he was missing from a Brentford game as well, wasn't he? So maybe he had a minor knock still. So maybe that came into the thoughts for Nigel Pearson as well as to why Cathcart wasn't starting in that game. And also, these games come quick and fast, don't they? So we've got another game Thursday. So did he have one eye on Burnley, thinking I need Cathcart for that game?
I think he did have one eye on Burnley, and I think the substitutions in the second half, which we'll get to, probably were quite evident that he had one eye on the Burnley game. But yeah, I think I did. I either heard it on, either saw it on Twitter or heard it on the commentary that Cathcart was missing from the Brentford game. So I think it was precautionary. And I think as well, that's why Messina came off for Holebas, because that was a weird substitution. But we'll talk about the subs in a little bit. The news about Pereira that we're on about, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you must live under a rock because it's been everywhere all over Watford Twitter. He's come out in an interview and said to Direct TV Sports, which I believe is a national sports company, and they cover South America quite a bit.
Yeah, it's not Mike Ashley's company. Don't worry.
No. He's come out and said that he'll be leaving at the end of this season. Now, it's a massive surprise to a lot of Watford fans because there were rumours that he wanted to go back to Italy. Personally, I think he'll end up back at Udinese. Yeah. But I just want to bring it in quite nicely, actually, to a couple of questions that we've received. So the first question we've received is from James, who heads up the Watford Way. You would have seen them on Twitter. If you don't follow them already, go and follow them. Really, really good insight into Watford. He asks, what are your thoughts on Pereira leaving this summer, and should we seek a replacement for him, or should we stick with Welbeck, Basetto, Pedro to play on the left? Firstly, what are your thoughts on Pereira leaving, and secondly, do we seek a replacement for him?
Pereira is a quality player on his day. Yeah. My problem with him is enough. If he was, we'd all be begging him to stay. And we're quite happy that maybe he's decided he wants to move on. Pereira's not been he's not the first name on the team sheet, is he? He never has been since he came to Watford. He came with a big maybe weight on his shoulders because we've just signed this midfielder from Juventus. Yeah. So a lot of pressure was put onto his shoulders. Has he living up to his expectations from Watford fans? Probably not. But he's given us some great moments as well. He scores some spectacular goals. Some that stand out for me are obviously you've got the Brighton game from the corner when they play it across and he volleys it into the top corner. Yep. You've got the Chelsea at home, similar. I think that's from a corner and edge of the box. He volleys it in. Then you've also got Wolves away when we scored those 2 goals in what was it, like a minute or
Yeah,
something?
it was something ridiculous like that. Yeah.
So he's a great player. He scores some great goals, but he's just not consistent enough. And picks up too many injuries as well. Just when you think he's probably starting to get some games under his belt, he's starting to look good, he would pick up a niggling injury and then he's out for a few weeks. That's what we don't need that, do we?
No, definitely not.
But yeah, I wish him the best of luck if he moves on, which it looks like it will be. Seen things on Twitter saying that he could be off to Udinese. Do we need a replacement? If we can find the right replacement, I'd say yes. I've seen a few people say that we could maybe be looking at a swap deal for our Udinese winger, Rodrigo De Paul.
Yes.
He's Argentinian as well. 26. He's got 22 goals in 130 games. So he could possibly, if you know what the history is with Watford and Udinese, there's a lot of transfers between the clubs. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do send Pereira there and maybe get something back in return. Also, if we don't get replacement, would I be happy with the players we've got? Yeah, they'll need to step up. I think we've got the players to do that. And to think we signed Prosciutto in January, wasn't it? They might have had one eye on replacing Pereira then and thinking Prosciutto could be the guy who does it. He was a bit lightweight before lockdown. Supposedly he's gained a bit more muscle now, so he could maybe fill that boots. But also Pedro, very young, talented player. I'd like to see more of him.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with what you just said. Pereira's time at Watford, he's produced some absolutely magic moments, magic goals. One that you missed off, which I like as well, was his goal against Leicester under Matt Zara. Yes. It seems to be quite similar finishes. He likes to cut in and then curl it in, and yeah, he's scored some very good goals for Watford, but his consistency's been questioned throughout his time at Watford. I'd say perhaps his best season was possibly the back end of last season. He started sort of tracking back a bit more because there was a lot of frustration that he would get forward but he wouldn't track back. But yeah, inconsistency is probably the best phrase to use to sum up his overall time at Watford, which funnily enough links onto the question that we received from Aaron Esser. He asked, what are your thoughts on Pereira moving on in his overall time? And I think you've pretty much summed up both of those questions that we've received in. And like you say, I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up to Udinese. A lot of the players that we've sent there have actually ended up doing really well. Big Stefano Akaka, he's acclimatised to life in Italy again and he's hit the ground running, I believe. Ken Sema as well.
Ken Sema being another one.
I don't know if Zegalar's been playing. I'm not 100% sure. Prodal's not played yet because I think he's been injured. Happy birthday to Prodal today, by the way, when we record this on Monday the 22nd. What a legend he was. But I think now is the right time for him to move on. And I think that sort of linked into his performance. He just didn't seem at the races, did he, Ben?
No, not at all. And I think you could see that during the game. He didn't look up for it. He didn't really look fit. I was kind of wanting him to come off a bit sooner than he actually did during the game as well.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful though, because in all fairness, we've had 3 months off, so some players aren't going to be the best. If he does start against Burnley, which we'll touch upon later, and he puts in a much better performance, and I'm sure all will be forgiven, sort of thing. But there were a lot of people on Twitter that I saw that were saying that Pereira, they were A, surprised he was starting, and B, very disappointed with the way that he started. But I totally agree with you on what you've said with Pereira. I wish him all the best in Italy, and it may be that it works out for him better in Italy, and that this sort of style of play over there suits him better. But yeah, moving on, obviously I said the best chance that sort of Leicester started the brighter, with more of the possession, and they were sort of creating half chances. They weren't really threatening us. I don't recall Foster really having to make a save in the first half. I think they had, indeed, he had a shot which went well wide. Vardy had a shot which went well wide as well, after Cabaselli sort of fluffed his lines. That, by the way, scared the living daylights out of me. I think there was a ball over the top, and Cabaselli went to control it, and he sort of miscontrolled it, and Vardy was right on his toes. And obviously, that's the last person you want to give the ball away to. And for whatever reason, Vardy brought it under control in the end and then shot well wide. So I think that was sort of the story of the first half. It was a half chances, if you like.
It was a nervous, slow start, wasn't it?
Very much. Like, both teams haven't played competitive football in 3 months, so you wouldn't expect anything less, to be honest. I think our best chance before Doucouré's chance, which I'll touch upon very, very shortly, he had half a chance where the ball came in and he sort of took a snapshot and it went well over and well wide. But the real one, which I thought he should have done a little bit better on, but it was right at Schmeichel, was where they were trying to play out from the back, which we're seeing a lot of teams do, or try at least. And Deeney intercepted a pass and put Dukes through, and it was saved well by Schmeichel's feet. I don't know what your thoughts were at the time, but I thought, he should have really done a lot better on that chance, because really he just put it straight at Schmeichel.
Well, I think that's when we're at our best. It's when we're pressing high. We cause teams to make mistakes. We did it at Bournemouth away, scored from it. Yeah. We've done it with Arsenal at home. I think we scored from that cleverly, wasn't it? And we've also done it
Liverpool,
possibly Liverpool as well. So yeah, that's what we're probably best at, isn't it? It's when we're high up the pitch, we're pressing, we're making them make mistakes. But yeah, Doucouré should have done a lot better there, straight at the keeper.
Yeah, and I like the way that, I know I said that I would have changed Doucouré for Chalobah, but I still stick by that. I've got nothing against Doucouré, but I just think that Chalobah offers us something different as well. But with Doucouré, I do like the way that Pearson's brought him in, and not brought him in, but he's sort of changed his role. He sort of sometimes plays up there with Troy, and he pushes further on. And I think he does really well at it as well. But I think that was probably the best chance as well. There was a chance right before half time where Capoue played the most audacious, if you've not seen the pass, by the way, again, where were you? But it's on the Watford Instagram, it's on the Watford Twitter. We might have even tweeted it as well off our account. I don't know if we did, Ben, but he played it was sort of like a half volley and outside of the boot, and it's just found Sarr superbly. And Sarr actually...
ping, wasn't it? It was,
it was incredible.
It was unbelievable. It was sexy.
Yeah. There's no other way to describe it, I don't think. And then Sarr actually crossed and found a man, and it was sort of Messina and Pereira that sort of went wading in at it. And I think it was Soyuncu who went in for Leicester as well, and just couldn't quite bundle it in, and it was the wrong side of the post. But just touching on quickly there, Sarr, I thought, again, he sort of picked up where he left off. He had Chilwell on toast most of the game. But what did frustrate me was, I don't think he perhaps realised how much time he had, because he'd have the beating of Chilwell 9 times out of 10, but then he'd cross straight away, and he wouldn't really take his time. He'd cross and nobody would be in the box yet. So it was very frustrating to see. I don't know if you picked up on that as well, Ben.
I thought his crosses were brilliant. I know he's putting them in first time, but they're the areas that you are going to score from. I just think in an attacking point, we didn't have the people in the box. I wouldn't blame Sarr for that. I'd blame probably the attackers and the midfielders for not actually getting in and putting their head on the ends of any of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see where you're coming from with that, but I still think he needs to take his time a little bit more on them, and he perhaps doesn't realise the own pace he's got sometimes. But yeah, so that was pretty much the first half. Foster wasn't really troubled at all. I think there were reports of him reading the Watford Observer at one stage, in that first half, because he didn't have much to do at all. But as we expected, Leicester dominated the possession and were on top, but we weren't completely out of the game whatsoever. And another thing I want to point out as well: how good was Will Hughes from that first whistle? He was just intercepting, spraying out passes, winning balls in the middle. It's almost as if he didn't have 3 months off.
Hughesy looks a totally different player under Nigel Pearson. Putting him in the centre of the park is where that boy is thriving. Yeah. And he looks unbelievable at the moment. I felt like he was setting the tone on Saturday. He was the one getting stuck in. I've actually seen today that he actually covered the most over the pitch on Saturday. He was outstanding.
Yeah.
He was winning the battles against Ndidi, Maddison as well. He's just, you can see why he could possibly get into Southgate's plans. If he carries on playing like this, I think there's no one anyone better than Hughes to break up play for England.
Completely agree. And I think him coming out before the first game and saying, I want to make an impression for Southgate and want to get in that England squad, I think that's only going to benefit us. Because if he's going to be putting in performances like that week in, week out, we know what Capoue can do, even on a bad day. And if you've got Hughes doing exactly the same alongside him, then I'm sorry, but the midfield that we've got, I don't see any problems with it whatsoever. And
it's nice seeing Hughes playing in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Because when he signed, we've always played him out wide, and it's never. He's done a job. He works hard, keeps it narrow for us, doesn't it? When we've got him in the midfield, but he thrives in the middle, and he was outstanding. Yeah,
absolutely agree. And as you said, I just want to echo what you said. If he plays like that for the remainder of this season, I won't have any, doubts that he'll get into Southgate's plans. The only thing that does worry me, which is a completely separate argument, but you do worry with the wonder with the England team sometimes whether you picked based on the teams that you play for, and he has his favourites. But nonetheless, if he continues doing that, I'll be a happy man because I don't think we've got as much to worry about. I want to move on to the second half quickly. They started brightly. 47 minutes, I think it was, on the clock, and Capoue played a marvellous through ball to Sarr. He was one-on-one. Probably should have done better on it because we saw he did it against Alisson against Liverpool. He chipped it over the keeper. This time he just drilled it at Schmeichel, but that's what it seems in real time. But when you saw the replays, he sort of edged it to the wide, and it was a good save from Schmeichel. If you watch the replays and they slow it down, it was a very good save from Schmeichel. But really, with Sarr, especially seeing him do it against Liverpool, I would have thought he would have done a little bit better there.
He's so quick, isn't he, Sarr? Originally, when it happened, I thought he was offside because he was so quick and he was so far away from the Leicester player straight away. Yeah. It wasn't until we saw a replay afterwards. He timed his run perfectly. But I think he probably rushed his chance a little bit, didn't he? He saw Schmeichel coming running out to him, and probably could have done a lot. Well, he could have done better with it, couldn't he? He could have scored. But that was one that went missing. But Schmeichel, you know what's going to happen when he comes out. He does the old starfish, and
he does. Yeah, we've seen it before.
Puts the attackers under pressure, don't it? I mean, so he fluffed it, hasn't he? But
well, we'll let him off. He's good enough to have a few slip ups a couple of times.
Exactly. Yeah, he won the Liverpool game for us. So we'll let him off.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then Deeney had half a chance. It might even have been Sarr that crossed it. I don't know if you can recall who crossed it, but he sort of he rose highest, and a stat that you pulled out before we started recording, which I think is an incredible stat. What was it, Ben? The stat that you sent me?
That Deeney won on Saturday, and it is like the joint highest Premier League for this season, I think. So he's won the most balls in the air in a Premier League game this season.
Yeah, and one of those was his chance. He rose highest against two solid centre backs that Leicester have got. I really like that Soyuncu, and Johnny Evans has always been like a tough tackling centre back. So he just headed it wide. I would imagine that Schmeichel probably would have got there if it was on target. If he didn't, he would have been very disappointed with himself. And then after that, really, that's when Leicester started growing into the game. And it was about the 70th minute, I think, that Leicester started really growing into it and started looking threatening. And we were sort of sitting a little bit deeper. And I was sort of thinking, oh, no, here we go. The first chance that really did it for me was Albrighton. I thought when he hit that, I thought that was in. Also, I want to say, I've been told that Foster actually got a hand to that. And if that is the case, my God, again, he has proved his worth for us, like you pointed out last week.
Magnificent double save, wasn't it? You could,
Yeah.
when you slow it down, you can actually see his fingers bending underneath it, so you can see that there's actually contact. But is there anything Ben Foster can't do? He doesn't. He doesn't look like a 37-year-old man who's playing in golf, does he?
Well,
He's outstanding.
That's what he said. He goes, he's feeling the best he's ever felt, and he's enjoying it. And
he's moving around like a 23-year-old keeper.
Yeah. Yeah, when he puts in performances and pulls off saves like that, you can't argue with him. You really can't.
But that save down to his left-hand side was such a strong hand to wrap around the post, wasn't it, from Maddison? What a great save. And if that went in, who would say that we wouldn't be able to come back from that?
Well, exactly. You know, if that went in and then they scored at the Chilwell shot as well, you know, we would have been dead and buried. But
yes,
who knows? If you haven't seen the save, by the way, it's on our Twitter page at Voices of the Vic. And then it was evident as the game sort of grew on that if someone was going to win it, it was going to take something special from either side. And just when you start thinking that, Chilwell lives up to his name because, you know, he's been linked with Chelsea, a lot of talk about him, obviously has earned an England call-up in the last couple of years, pops up with an absolute pole driver. You know, we say there's what can't Ben Foster do, but no one's saving that. Not even the best goalkeeper in the league is saving that. He hit it absolutely sweetly, smashed off the inside of the post, 89 minutes on the clock, and you just think there's no crowd there to G us up. I'll be honest, I thought that's it. As far as I was aware, we'd lost that game. There was 89 minutes gone, and there was no crowds. That was done. I don't know what your thoughts were, but I was like, yeah, that's us. Typical, that's all.
I sunk in my sofa. I just kind of started going down towards the floor. I couldn't believe it. I thought we've put in that much effort.
Yeah.
It came to the 90th minute or not 89th minute. And what a quality goal from Chilwell. He did absolutely nothing all game apart from chase Sarr. So for him to come up at that time and score that, it was a wonderful goal. But
I don't
know.
What more can you say than it was a wonderful goal? Because it literally was. I was speechless when it went in. And I was a little bit worried as well that BT were going to show the fan cam for the Watford fans because that I wouldn't have been able to go on Twitter again after that because I just would have got it absolutely ripped out of me because my head were in my hands and like you, I was sort of sunk down into my seat. And obviously I thought that we'd lost and then Holebas comes on and you're thinking, what's going off here? I think by then, I did miss out, apologies. By then, we'd already brought on Chalobah, Cleverley and Mariappa for Capu, Decore and Kiko Femenia, who I thought they all had excellent games. But you can understand, you know, we've not played football in 3 months. He's going to make changes. He's going to have one eye on the games coming up. But I did think they sort of weakened it. No disrespect to them, but for the way that Capu and Decore have been playing and Kiko Femenia, you sort of worry then. And obviously they then scored. I think Mariappa was already on the pitch as well. And you worry with Mariappa going up against the pace of Jamie Vardy, who was stuck on 99 Premier League goals. And we were adamant he was going to get that 100th goal. Craig Dawson obviously had other ideas because he was absolutely incredible. But Holebas come on and he was belting these long throws in. I was just sort of watching it and I was just thinking, why do Watford do this to me? They give me false hope, thinking that one of these throw-ins is going to take a ricochet and we're going to get a chance. And then it went out for a corner. And I thought, why am I getting excited? Watford never score from corners. And then the most outrageous thing happened. Holebas delivered a corner, which beat the first man for once. Then Cabaselli won the header. Yeah, it took a few ricochets, but to be quite honest, who the hell cares? And
he's claiming the assist for it as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
Typical Cabba. And then Craig Dawson, who's never scored for Watford, and I think I read a stat, he hasn't scored in... I really should remember these stats.
The last goal he scored was for West Brom in a playoff semi-final against
Aston Villa. Yeah. So he hasn't scored for that long, and he thinks, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to try an overhead kick. And, like, Schmeichel got
then he comes out and says that he does it in training.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what made me laugh about that. Nigel Pearson says, I've never seen him do anything like that. He's usually just booting the ball out. So someone's lying there. But, I mean, when he took that overhead kick, I thought, oh, Schmeichel's got a hand to it. It's not got in because it sort of it bulged the net really, really late, and I was sort of like, oh God, what a chance! And then I was like, oh my God, it's in. And like as Watford fans, you're sort of expecting because we never score in the last minute, and you're sort of expecting, the linesman's flag's going to go up or something, and I've got no words. Like, you've seen the video of me celebrating. I think that sums it up. I don't know what were you like when that goal went in, Ben?
I was exactly the same as you, jumping up and down. I couldn't believe it. I thought, from being slumped down in your seats, and then you're scoring from a corner for what? Yeah, not just Watford scored. We scored from a corner.
Yeah, we haven't done that since Tranmere in the cup.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, and we lost that.
Yeah, that was incredible. And yeah, like you say, a defender trying something like that, hats off to him. But I must say, when I saw that, it brought back memories of when Craig Cathcart did it against Birmingham City in the year we got promoted to a Prem. Yeah. What is it with Craig's and in front of the Rookery end?
Yeah. But someone else said, what is it with last-minute goals in front of the Rookery against Leicester? Yeah. So, unfortunately, it didn't quite have the same effect. We still got a point, though, which we would have took before the game. Let's just... Obviously, that's how the game finished. Finished on a high. Dawson was incredible. Possibly his best Watford performance to date. Kept Vardy quiet for the whole game. The same Vardy who scored in the last 5 games against us and was on 99 Premier League goals. But you would have taken a draw before the game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, definitely. I was going into the game thinking, if we get a point here, then maybe go Burnley and get more, and then we've got Southampton. They were the 2 games I thought, we could maybe win from. But to get a point out of Leicester, especially from when you're being 1-0 down, and we kept going, we kept pushing. We was like, no, we're going to get something out of this. Yeah, no, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what worried me a bit as well, because there's no crowd there to cheer you up. I think I'm a strong believer that if there was a crowd there, those chances we had earlier may have gone in, and if they hadn't, they may have driven us to have more chances, and possibly we would have gone ahead earlier in the game. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. It didn't happen. They weren't there, so can't dwell on that too much. But obviously with the results went the way it did, it was a brilliant weekend for us overall. Because we love a stat on this show, and I've just mentioned about 90th minute goals against Leicester. Here's an incredible stat for you. 6 of the last 7 meetings between Watford and Leicester in the Premier League have either seen a goal or a red card in the 90th minute or later. 6 goals and 1 red card. I think that's incredible. That just shows that if you're watching Watford v Leicester, don't switch off early or don't leave early, because something's guaranteed to happen. Now I've said that, the next time we play Leicester, it's going to be the red card, isn't it? But that brings us on to another question we've received from Samuel Stedman. Thanks for sending it in, Sam, if you're listening, and thanks for your support so far. With the result on Saturday being a draw, and with it being very lucky to get it, how do you think we'll get on against Burnley? All the teams around us seem to either lose or draw the first games back, which, if you ask me, puts us in a very good position going forward. So, obviously, we've just said that we would have taken a draw, but we weren't to know what those results were going to be. But now we know what the results were. Do you think that's put us in the driving seat, so to speak?
I would say so, yeah. We've hit up a point. Teams around us drop points. We've moved up a place up to 16th. So West Ham have moved underneath us now. The team would be full of confidence now going to Burnley, picking up that last-minute equaliser. That's going to feel like a winner for them. So we're going to go there full of confidence. I can't see why we can't get a result at Burnley now.
I've been thinking that because you've been doing some work for me, which I'm going to ask for you to produce that work in a minute when when we get to it. But you could get a job at Leeds with the sort of detective work you've been doing on Burnley's injury news and whatnot. But
I need to get out more, mate. That's what it is.
Hey, you said it, not me. So we're moving on. Because I'm a bit worried about the time. I don't want to keep everyone too long, although got nothing else to do because we're still in lockdown. But this podcast, we're recording it on Monday the 22nd. So at the moment, there's still an hour till kick-off with Burnley Man City. And we know what sort of injuries they've got for that game and the troubles that we've got. But talking of their lineups, we'll talk about ours first. I think I know what you're going to say, but other than the obvious Pereira for possibly Welbeck, is there anything you changed from the lineup from Saturday for going into Burnley?
I've thought about this for a while. I don't know whether I'd want to disrupt the back four and bring in Cathcart. Because I think we did a great job keeping Vardy quiet. I know Cabaselli took a while to get into the game and made an early mistake where Vardy was on his heels. But do I want to upset the back four? But Pearson's also thinking, I've got another game Sunday against Southampton. So I think there is going to be changes. I'm going to take Pereira out the starting lineup, and I'm going to probably put Prosciutto in. I think he's going to put... Only because it's... Burnley are a physical side. I don't know if Pearson's going to try and match it and maybe make us a bit more defensive, because Prosciutto actually filled in at right back the other week against Brentford, didn't he?
He did.
So I don't know if he's looking at that for a bit more cover at right back. So yeah, I'm just going to do one change. I'm going to do Prosciutto's going to come in for Pereira.
That's very, very interesting. I agree with you with the back four. I don't think it's worth disrupting that. And I think Craig Dawson was incredible. And these are the type of games that he lives for. He was part of a tough tackling, tough to beat West Brom side, tough to score against for 9 years. He played under Tony Pulis, who was big on his defending and, getting stuck in and being hard to beat in the air. And when you're playing a team like Burnley, and I know there's that stereotype that Burnley play horrible football and whatnot, but there's a reason for that stereotype. Craig Dawson, if he puts in this, even half the performance he did against Leicester, I think we're going to be all right. So I think back four unchanged. We obviously don't need to talk about Foster because, funnily enough, I don't think Gomez deserves a shot in this one. The two in front of the back four, Hughes and Capoue, again, wouldn't change it. I would obviously change Pereira. I would possibly go with Danny Welbeck, just because he adds a little bit more attacking wise, and I think, which you're going to talk about in a little bit, I think they're there for the taking, Burnley, because they've got a lot of injury/contract problems. So it's going to be interesting to see not only what they line up with tonight, but what they line up with on Thursday, because they've also got, we've sort of 2 days ahead of them in preparation for the next game. So
yeah, we've got an extra 2 rest days, haven't we?
Exactly. So I think we're going to have the upper hand there. And other than that, I wouldn't change anything. I was half thinking about maybe playing Andre Gray because he knows how Burnley work and he scored at Turf Moor last season. But I just think that Troy Deeney's just been, Troy Deeney's Mr. Watford. He's pivotal for games like these. And when he's up against Tarkowski and the other centre-backs, Ben Mee, I think it is, you need a player. And especially, like you said earlier, winning 14, I think, aerial duels, we know that we're going to win it in the air, and we're going to need someone that's not going to be afraid to go up and get a few sort of elbows, a few digs and whatnot. And Troy's the perfect player for that. I think the only change I'd make is Pereira, and I'd make it for Welbeck just to be a bit more attacking. In terms of any fresh injury concerns, there was possible hamstring worries for Messina, but I've not heard anything off the back of that. I believe that's why he was taken off against Leicester. And then obviously we got the news that Success had done something he'd ruptured his Achilles, and Janmaat has had a injection, which it got infected. So he's now out for the season. Poor bloke can't catch a break, because I really do like Janmaat. And then the other news that we won't be seeing Delafeu for the rest of this season. I don't want to dwell on that too much because I'm just worried about the time that we're on. But do you think that is going to be a real big miss? Or do you think now that we've seen what we like without Delafeu, do you think that perhaps we've got the players in there to not replace him as such, but maybe put in performances that sort of are similar to Delafeu?
I think we're going to miss him massively. We're a better side with Delafeu in the side. Also, I'm in an iron of who's going to take Pereira's place. We've got Gerard Delafeu. Put him out on the left.
Gerard Delafeu? He's injured.
Yeah, no, if he was fully fit.
Oh, if he was fully fit, my bad.
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought you was on about then. I thought
Yeah,
you was
no,
doing a me from last week then. Put him out on the
no.
left against Burnley, he'll be fine.
If he was fully fit, we wouldn't be having this discussion about Pereira thinking about do we need a replacement, because
100%.
we've got Gerard Deulofeu, we don't know what division we're going to be in at the end of the season, do we? Because some players might want to move on, and I think Jerry would probably be one of them. But if we did get relegated to a championship, and say he gets fit for October, he'll still be a Watford player until maybe January, and he'll be one hell of a championship player in that
He
division.
would, wouldn't he? Yeah, yeah, it'd be almost unfair. I think Passetto would be as well, actually, funnily enough. Moving on to the news, Burnley, obviously we've mentioned that we get 2 extra days to prepare for the fixture. With obviously having 3 months off, and we obviously football's coming thick and fast now, do you think that obviously usually having 2 extra days might actually benefit us? Do you think it'll have a bigger impact as it would if the season was just going on as normal, or do you think that maybe 2 days extra isn't going to be as much?
I think it's going to help us having these 2 extra days. I wouldn't be surprised if we come to a Burnley game and within 15 minutes, Burnley have to make a change because someone's picked up a silly muscle strain because of the games being so close together, and we've had an extra 2 days recovery.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see that on Thursday.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then obviously moving on, Burnley have got a few issues with contracts and injuries. We'll touch on the injuries just very, very shortly. I just want to touch on the issues that they're having with the contract extensions. Now, when I was doing the research for the podcast for recording tonight, it was Jeff Hendrick, Phil Bardsley, Adam Legzdins, Aaron Lennon and Joe Hart. But yesterday, on Sunday, it was broken that Burnley decided not to offer Joe Hart a new contract, which I'm not at all surprised with. And Aaron Lennon's actually rejected a contract extension, and he'll leave after the 30th of June. Now, I don't, obviously, because we don't follow Burnley week in, week out, I'm not sure if he was playing regularly, but that's still quite a big miss. And it raises the question, will he play? Because you've got players like Ryan Fraser, who's come out and rejected one, and he's not going to play for Bournemouth again. So are they going to be in a case where they won't play him, or are they going to be in a case of, well, we're sort of short on numbers as it is, we're going to have to play him, and then if they do play him, they're in a similar predicament with us where Pereira's leaving. Is his eye going to be elsewhere? Is he going to be pulling out of challenges because he doesn't want to get injured? So it's going to be interesting to see what that brings. But the only 2 that stick out for me is Jeff Hendrick and Phil Bardsley. No, Adam Legzdins is like the 4th choice keeper, so he doesn't really get a look in anyway. But Jeff Hendrick and Phil Bardsley are certainly 2 players that fit the Burnley mould. So I think that's going to be interesting to see whether they start.
It's absolutely criminal that Burnley have let all these players come down to their final contracts. And I saw the other day, I think they spent about 10 million on Jeff Hendricks from Derby, and now they're just letting him go for free. It's absolutely mad. I'll be fuming if Watford did that.
Did you see the rumour in January? Was it January?
A few weeks back, him going to AC Milan. He's going to set the San Siro alight, ain't he?
Yeah, well, they almost signed that. I'm going off topic here, but they almost signed that Anthony Robinson from Wigan, and it fell through at the last minute. So you sort of have to wonder,
didn't he?
Who's in charge of recruitment at AC Milan? Is it like, I don't know, Mick McCarthy or someone? I don't know. Like, who knows? But now moving on to the injury news, Ben has been doing a sterling job at sort of reading into Burnley and whatnot, and you've got some injury news for us. What have you got for us, Ben?
So they are going to be missing Ashley Barnes, Chris Wood, and Goodmanson for their opener against Man City. And because we're playing them a few days after Man City, I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them are missing for our game as well. And Dyche will be having issues with filling his 9-man bench as well due to all these injuries and contract disputes. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get a matchday squad together.
Yeah.
And who he's going to play up top as well. But before, I think Barnes and Wood's been injured for a few months. So before lockdown, they had Mativ Vidya that all Watford fans know about. He was playing up front, and he was actually coming into form, and he scored an absolutely cracker down at St Mary's against Southampton, if you remember it.
Yeah, I do indeed.
So yeah, he's at, if he can carry on his form from pre-lockdown, I would worry about Vidra against maybe our defenders, because it's a bit different to, well, probably similar to what they faced with the pace of Vardy.
Yeah, and there's no better team to know what Vidra's like, and I'm sure Troy will be having a word. I'm trying to think who else was here when we were when Vidra was there. Maybe Gomez as well. Two influential characters in the dressing room. We'll know what threat Vidra holds. But yeah, the big one for me there is if Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood are out of the game for us as well, because
they're both Burnley top goal scorers, aren't they?
I was just going to say, Chris Wood's got 11, Ashley Barnes has got 6, and then Jay Rodriguez has got 5. So you're taking 17 goals out of the team straight away if those two aren't in, Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood. And they're two physical players as well. So that would be a massive, that massive for us. Craig Dawson and Cabaselli can breathe a sigh of relief if that is the case. I know it doesn't matter too much because obviously we've not played for 3 months, but coming into the game without counting the Man City game, Burnley picked up 9 points from the last 5 games, and they included draws against Spurs and Arsenal and a win against Leicester. But I'm going off what I've just said, that's not really going to be as appropriate, I think, especially if they're missing these players and the fact that they haven't played for so long.
And they could take an absolute hiding from City tonight as well, so their confidence could be low.
Let's hope so. But I mean, I think a small part of them could still get Europe, but I think they've got bigger worries.
Ben Mee actually came out, there was like a little quote on Sky Sports News. He said that Burnley are targeting European football.
They want to target getting a few contracts tied up before they do that. But yeah, and again, because we love a stat on this podcast, head-to-head stats as well. It doesn't make for good reading for us Watford fans, unfortunately. Now, Watford have won just twice at Turf Moor since April 2004. Most recent one coming last season when Andre, Troy and Hughes scored and we won 3-1. Tarkowski scored for Burnley. And then the time before that, it was April 2004. This is taking you back. Paul Devlin, Heider Helgeson and Lee Cook were the scorers when we won 3-2. That don't have to take you back.
Oh, it does,
Paul Devlin, Helgeson and Lee Cook. My God. Obviously, I say we've only won twice since April 2004. The more worrying stat is we've only ever won 3 times at Turf Moor, and one of the times was a 7-4. Can you remember who were the goal scorers that day, Ben? The 7-4 game?
Chopra got 4, didn't he?
Chopra did get 4.
Yeah, Michael Chopra and probably Micah Hyde.
Micah Hyde, he did. I
couldn't tell you the others.
I'll give you the other 2 because it's we'll be here all day. It was Wayne Brown and Paolo Venazza, I believe it was. Was it Paolo Venazza? Not really sure off the top of my head, but it was definitely Wayne Brown got one. I had all this sorted as well before, and
you love a stat as well, don't you? And
you've gone tits up. Completely.
Apologies.
No, that's all right. We'll bleep that out maybe. But yeah, no, that just shows 3 wins. It was Micah Hyde, Wayne Brown, and Neil Cox, not Paolo Venazza. He never scored because he was absolutely rubbish. But yeah, no, it was Neil Cox. So yeah, they were the scorers on that day. But 3 times. And that, as well, is dating back to the records that I could find was 1971.
Wow. It just shows how tough it is to go to Turf Moor and pick up a result.
Absolutely. Last 10 meetings in all competitions, Watford have won 2, we've drawn 4, and Burnley have won 4. And then the overall meetings, dating back to 1971, we've never kept a clean sheet at Turf Moor, ever. And Ben Foster's one of them at the moment could go for the Golden Glove because Dean Henderson's record took a battering the other day. 3-0 against Newcastle. And then overall meetings, Watford have won 13, we've drawn 10, and Burnley have won 20. So on paper, it's not looking good for us. But as we all know, and as we've just gone through, the contract problems have got, the injuries problems have got. Football isn't won on paper; it's not played on paper. So hopefully that we can buck the trend and win again, just like we did last season. And I think we're very, very confident. Mike Dean will be the referee. The VAR ref will be Martin Atkinson. And Mike Dean, if you saw on our Twitter just yesterday, refereed Watford on 3 occasions so far. The Man City 8-0 defeat, which we won't mention again. The Watford 0-0, the absolute snore fest that it was. And then the Watford, with Bournemouth, that was. And then the Bournemouth away game 3-0 more recently. So yeah, we've not done horrendously because there's some refs that ref us, and it's like we can never win when they referee us. So yeah,
special mention for Mike Dean's beard.
Oh yeah, it's superb, isn't it? I
The
think
things that happened during lockdown, I wouldn't have said Mike Dean would referee Merseyside derby with a beard.
Yeah, no, he looks questionable at best. I think he's probably the nicest thing I can think of. But just before, we've received a couple of other questions that relate to Burnley and whatnot. But just before we go into it, score predictions, Ben. What do you think?
3-1 Watford.
Ooh, I like it. Scorers?
Deeney, Hughes, Decore.
Deeney, Hughes and Decore. Almost a full house on who scored last season. Yeah. I can see that, especially with Decore. If he sort of pushes on like he did last week on Saturday, sorry, he can be a threat, and we know what a threat he can be as well. I'm going to go, even though we've just said all these injury problems that Burnley have got and contract problems, we're going to make bloody hard work of this because we're Watford. I'm going to go that we're going to sneak it 2-1. And I think Sarr's going to cause nightmare for their defence. I think Sarr's going to score. And I'm actually going to go... Do you know what? I'm going to go Danny Welbeck because he deserves it. He's worked hard in this lockdown. He does deserve it. He's worked hard. He's been injured. He can't get rub of the green with the injuries. He actually looks like, and it sounds like he's come back against Brentford and he's done well. And I think it's going to come after him, and I think he's going to score, and it's going to do his confidence a world of good then. And hopefully then he'll sort of kick on from there and play a lot more. So yeah, 3-1 I'm going to go for. I want to go on to a couple of questions that we've received here. The first question I want to go on to is one we've received from Josh Watson, which is, do you think we'll stay up, and how many more wins do you think we'll achieve?
Yes. I reckon we're going to stay up, and we probably need about 3 wins. 3 wins and a draw. Another 10 points. I think, we'll walk it. I think you probably need. I don't think you're going to need a massive amount to stay up now. I think you probably 8 more points, but let's round it up to 10.
Well, that would put us on. If we round it up to 10, that would put us on 38. And they usually say 40 is about the mark that you need. So I think it's going to be lower this year. I think they'll need that. But let's just quickly run you through who we've got left as well, because I'm going to put you under even more pressure, Ben. I'm going to ask where you think those 3 wins are going to come from. So we've obviously got Burnley. You'll think that's one of... Is that one of the 3, or is that and then 3 more?
I've predicted us to win 3-1, so I'm going to have to say yes.
Yeah, but after that, do you think we're going to win 3 more, or do you think that's part of the 3 more that you think we're going to win? Really pushing you here now, Ben. Throwing you under the bus a bit.
3 more.
3 more. So we've got Burnley, that Ben obviously thinks we'll win. We've got Southampton at home, draw. Chelsea away. Oh, yeah, we'll run it through like that. Southampton at home.
Draw.
Chelsea away.
Loss.
I don't know. Norwich at home.
Win.
Newcastle at home.
Win.
West Ham away.
Win.
The last 2, Man City at home.
Loss.
And then Arsenal.
Draw.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll win against Burnley. Southampton's going to be a tricky one because Danny Ings is on fire. So again, I'll take a draw there. I think we can get a draw away at Chelsea. I think watching them against Villa, although they put Villa under a lot of pressure, you could see at times they were there for the taking, and Villa sort of got a goal out of nothing. So I'm going to be optimistic there and go a draw. I think we beat Norwich.
Yeah.
We beat Newcastle, but only because we're at home. If we were away, I think we would have lost. West Ham away, West Ham look poor, so I think we're going to go for a win there. Man City at home, I want to be optimistic, but let's not be silly. So a loss. And then, like you said, I actually think that we could get a win. If Arsenal continue playing the way they do, we could get a win and they'd be there for the taking.
Yeah,
But
why not? We've done it before at the Emirates, haven't we?
Exactly. We've done it twice at the Emirates. So
yeah, I was there on that Tuesday night one.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to... do you know what? I'm going to be different. I'm going to go for a win. So I think we're going to pick up... we're going to pick up 4 more wins. And I think 4 more wins will do it for us. So 4 wins... Norwich, Newcastle, West Ham and Arsenal. Why not? And I think we can pick something up against Chelsea. And to be honest, I think a draw wouldn't be the worst thing in the world tonight. But on Thursday night. But I think going off the Leicester game, I think really, in hindsight, we do need to win it because we've drawn against Leicester. If we win on here, I think we'll be a lot more comfortable. Which brings it on nicely to a question that we've received from one of our mates who's a Villa fan, Ben Cox. Who do you see as the biggest threat to our relegation fight?
None of them performed well this weekend, did they? So it's even tougher. Purely going off the squad and that one man who's absolutely brilliant, I'm going to go with Villa, Jack Grealish.
Yeah, he's good.
He pulls the strings and he gets them out of trouble. He can play on his own and get points for Villa.
He can. The only thing I'd say is, and the only reason I know this is I have a lot of friends who are Aston Villa fans. Dean Smith seems to play him out wide as opposed to central. And I think that rubs Villa fans up the wrong way because apparently he's a lot more effective centrally. Now, obviously, that's not going to bother me too much if he's playing him out of position or a position where he's less effective because it means that he's not winning as many points for him. But I think on their day, Villa have shown that they can get something from these games. But I don't know how many home and away games they've got left because away, they've got the second worst, other than Norwich, they've got the second worst form away from home. So possibly, but I personally think that West Ham might get out of it because West Ham are West Ham. And I just think I don't know how, and I know that doesn't really help what I'm backing up and it might not solidify my point, but I just have got this sneaky suspicion that West Ham are going to be, they possibly could push us the furthest. They've got Tottenham tomorrow as we record on Tuesday, and Tottenham certainly can be there for the taking. But hopefully Tottenham turn up on Tuesday night. But if Coxey was to push me for an answer, and knowing Coxey, he bloody well will, it'd be West Ham for me. And a question that we've received from Vaughan, who I know, we won't touch on this too much, Vaughan, if you're listening, because I think we might even dedicate a separate episode to this. But Vaughan's asked, he'd like to know if we went down and we went back to the Championship, who should be retained for next season and why. And just want to obviously acknowledge that we've received the question, and thanks for the question, Vaughan, and thanks for listening. Hopefully I'll see you soon for a beer. We will touch on it, and it probably will be a separate episode itself because that will take a lot of ground to cover. And I've got a feeling that me and Ben may agree and disagree on a few of them, so we might need to completely book it out on the diary on that one for that one. So thanks very much for getting your questions in, guys. It really does mean a lot, and it's great to see that you're interacting with us and you're listening. Hopefully, moving on to the next part of the podcast very quickly, because I know, obviously, looking at the time, competition time. Yes, you heard it right. It's our first ever competition. I'm really excited about this.
You sound like Andy Peters, mate. You're loving it. Competition time.
Competition time. Your chance to win, unfortunately, won't be like 20 grand that they give away. We're not quite on that level yet. But yeah, so we've teamed up with a company called 6 Yards Out. If you don't know what they're about, they sell merchandise, so mugs, prints, phone cases, retro stuff for your club. If whatever club you support, they've got it. Check them out on Twitter and Instagram. We'll put a link on our Twitter and Instagram as well. Go check them out. They have given us the chance to give away a print. Now, just so you've got sort of size, you know what sort of size it is. It's A4. I believe it already comes framed, and it's a print. Now, we were given 3 shirts. They're all retro, and we thought it would be most appropriate that we went with the Iveco one. So the 1984 season, when we got to our first ever FA Cup final. There were some other corkers in there as well. So that dark blue and white Blaupunt.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah. And then the other one was Solvite, I think, from memory. But we've gone with the Iveco one. But who's to say that we won't be giving away the other ones as well if this goes down well? All you've got to do is make sure that you follow us and you follow them as well on Twitter. And you've got the chance to enter on Twitter or Instagram as well. And what we're going to do is, because this podcast comes out on Wednesday, it's not very fair that we ask that you predict the Burnley score, because it gives you like a day to enter. So what we're going to do is, we want you to send in your score predictions for the Southampton home game on Sunday. So all that we want is, if you just make sure you follow us, you send your score prediction of what you think the Southampton score will be, and who you think the first goal scorer of the match will be as well. So as long as you've done those 2 things, you'll be in with a chance of entering. If more than one person guesses the correct score, then you'll go into a hat and you'll be randomly drawn out, and then obviously we'll contact the winner. But yeah, all you need to do to be in with a chance of winning is follow us, tag a friend as well. And you must be following us to be in a chance of winning, and tell us your score prediction and your first goal scorer for the Southampton home game on Sunday, the 28th of June. Simple as that. And you could be in a chance of winning an Iveco print A4, framed as it is. You'll be in with a chance of winning one of those. So hopefully that will be the first of many things that we give away. So just our first giveaway. So make sure you tag your friends and let them know as well. And you'll be in a chance with winning one of those, and they really look really good. We'll put a picture out of it as well on our Twitter and Instagrams, so make sure you go and check it out, and you could be in with a chance of winning. And I think to finish up very, very quickly, we don't want to dwell on this too much. Again, it might be something that we talk about in a later episode. I want to talk about the new stadium plans. So I'm sure you've all seen on Twitter at the moment, Watford have thinking about building a 30,000 seater, I think it is, Ben.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 30,000 seater. Yeah,
at Bushy Hall Golf Club, which is about 1.5 miles away from Vicarage Road Stadium at the moment. From when I checked this morning, 22nd of June at 9:10 a.m. the signatures were on 3,971 on the, there's a change page, change.org page, a petition to make sure that we don't. And they only need 5,000. So I'm sure by the time of us, it will probably have gone up. So yeah, it's going up rapidly at the moment. Firstly, what are your thoughts at the moment on actually moving to a new stadium? Are you a fan of it, or are you not a fan of it?
It's 50-50 really. Love Vicarage Road, love the memories there. But also, if we're a team that want to progress, we want to maybe take it the club to the next stage. A new stadium is probably vital for us. So I'm 50-50. I'd love us to stay at Vicarage Road. And let's be honest, I don't think we can maybe develop Vicarage Road into a 30,000 seater stadium with the houses like so close, and you got the hospital and you got the allotments, and I don't think I think it's going to be a stretch. Yeah, I'm 50-50 on that one. We'd also like a new stadium, a nice shiny new stadium, and seeing what we can achieve in that. But it's all financially, isn't it, for the Pozzos? I think they will probably, you're going to get more bums on seats. You probably get more sponsorship deals as well. So, yeah, we'll see. I can see why there's a petition out, though, for the locals that live in that area for a football team to start building on a golf club and bringing loads of traffic and whatnot over to your area. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I doubt it will get approved, and we'll have to look at another site.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you to an extent. I think they were on about. I don't know if it was just rumours because I've not seen anything since, but they're on about maybe making the Sir Elton John stand sort of double tiered, 2 tiers, I should say. Whether that would take it up to 30,000, I don't know, but I did see someone on Twitter earlier.
It does look nice.
It does look very nice. I saw someone on Twitter earlier say, really, we need to be making sure that we pack out our stadium at the moment, because last season we had the biggest report of no-shows on match day, which is why they've really stamped down on it this season.
That's why you've got to email the club now if you can't go.
Exactly. Which I didn't do on Saturday. Oops. So you've got that, and I think really, ideally, you'd be really pushing for European football, because then, obviously, if you'd be in a brand shiny new stadium and whatnot. But I can totally understand where the locals are coming from. Like you said, it brings in. They're worried about it bringing increased traffic, increased carbon pollution, and increased noise pollution. There's also reports as well. Now, I just want to say, before I say what it is, this is just based on what has been indicated on the change.org site. They're not our views here. Apparently, if the stadium was to go ahead, that would mean that Bushy Hall Golf clubhouse would have to close down. Therefore, it would be forcing 100 years of history down the drain. So obviously, a lot of sentimental value will be gone there, and I understand the sort of worries that it would have for the locals if it's been around that long. And then more worrying, how bloody far would it be from Walkabout then? You know, we meet in Walkabout and Bosley's pre-match.
Exactly, yeah. And I had to look into this, didn't I? I had to look into this to see how long it would take us to walk from Walkabout to the new potential football ground, and it would be 37 minutes walk. Maybe on a summer's day, that's not too bad. But on a cold, wintry day, I think I might have to get a cab or something.
Yeah. Burnley at home on a Tuesday night when it's peeing down, it's not the most appealing walk before a game. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what develops with that. But like I say,
it's early stages, isn't it? So
it is very. And they were on very early. They were very close to the 5,000 signatures. In fact, if you probably check now, they've probably hit the 5,000. But yeah, it's very early days, as you say. And
is it 5,000 signatures to get stopped, or 5,000 signatures to be debated?
5,000 for it to be debated in whatever it is.
Because I think it was a Conservative MP that actually started this page as well, didn't it?
Bushy Conservatives. So I'm not sure what happens when they get to 5,000. I think it goes to Parliament or Sunny. I don't know.
Not into your politics, are you?
No, not into my politics. Don't know my Boris Johnsons from my Jeremy Corbyns or whatever. But yeah, I think that about sums it up. It's a little bit longer than we thought, but we had a lot to squeeze in. Obviously, the first game back, Burnley away, stadium. Competition, but I think we've hit the nail on the head there, and we've answered some questions that we've got. So again, thanks for sending those in. But as always, Ben, it's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me again. Enjoyed doing it, and hopefully next week we'll make it a tiny bit shorter for everyone to listen to. But this is all down to Mike baffling on, sir. So.
I'll learn to cut that out one day, guys. But yeah, no, that rounds it up. So thanks very much for listening. Especially if you've listened to the last episode and this episode, and if you're a first timer, welcome and thanks for listening as well. And we really hope you enjoy it. And yeah, don't forget to get those score predictions in. And hopefully, the next time we'll speak to you, we would have just got 3 points at Turf Moor, and we'll be raring to go for Southampton's visit to Vicarage Road on Sunday the 28th. So again, from me, Mike Duffy, and my co-host Ben Aiton, thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and come on, you Horns.
Come on, you Horns.